All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Office of Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Programs 2024 Grantee Manual Session 1. I'd like to first thank everyone that was able to attend the Administrator Orientation and Knowledge Exchange in Naperville. It was a fantastic event. It was great to get to see everyone in person. And that was really the kickoff of our onboarding for new grantees and for new employees from existing grantees, or just employees from the renewal grantees that would like a refresher. So thank you all for attending that kickoff. For those of you that did, and welcome to all of those that this is the first onboarding session that you're able to attend. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. The onboarding, and we'll go over this towards the end of the presentation, it consists of about 10 of these training sessions for the grantee manual, which is comprised of 14 different sections. There will be 3 different webinars that we will cover these 14 sections on. So it's all part of, again, that group of 10 onboarding sessions that hopefully you've all had an opportunity to register for. So my name is Dan Martinez. As many of you know, I'm a grant manager. Gia, if you could progress the slide. I'm a grant manager with the Office of Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. I've been with the program for a little over a year, and this is one of my favorite webinars because it really kicks off the grantee manual, which is really the guidance for ensuring a successful program for all of the grantees. And certainly that's our goal, because ultimately when you are successful, that means you are delivering successful programming to the participants, which is really the focus of what we're all here for. So I'm glad you were all able to make it, and I'd like to introduce you to a couple of the other team members right now, starting with Dr. Yolanda. She will be sharing her thoughts on the culture. And so if Dr. Yolanda, if you could introduce yourself.
Good morning. Thank you, Dan, for that introduction. My name is Yolanda Clark. I'm the Director of Research and Evaluation for the Workforce Development Team at NIU Center for Governmental Studies. I've worked with Illinois Works for a while. From the very beginning, I worked with the team to co-author the first grantee manual, and my team and I, we also conduct evaluations for the Illinois Works program. So you'll probably hear a lot from me. I do like the focus groups with the grantees to kind of understand more what they're doing on the ground for the program as a part of the evaluations. And I'm very happy to be here today to be one of the facilitators.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so when they say they literally wrote the book on it, that's who we have today. So we're definitely in good hands. As you know, the Office of Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program has a whole team of passionate experts that are committed to supporting your pre-apprenticeship program success. Well, for those of you that are on the call, when I introduce you, if you could unmute your microphone and say hello to everyone, I'd appreciate it. So first of all, starting with Dr. Norman Ruano. He, of course, is the Deputy Director of Illinois Works and oversees all the programs, including the pre-apprenticeship program. We also have Mr. Stephen Scott, one of the grant managers on the team. Steve, if you could say hello.
Hi, everybody.
We also have Ms. Monica Pruitt, one of the grant managers on the team with Steve and I. So Monica, if you could say hello.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome.
Thank you, Monica. We also have Dr. Anna Bedard. She's one of the newest training analysts and program coaches that we have. So Dr. Anna, if you could say hello.
Hi, it's good to meet everyone. I look forward to working with you.
We also have today Dr. Vera Lee Robinson, another training analyst and program coach with the program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back and welcome to the new grantees. I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Gia Suggs, professional development lead and one of the training analysts and program coaches who's helping facilitate the program today.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see all of you again who attended the in-person event. And for those of you who did not, looking forward to connecting with you today, and welcome everyone.
So for those of you that maybe are returning, that are familiar with our program, that just wanted a refresher out of this course, you'll notice that our team has expanded significantly. That speaks to the dedication that the state of Illinois has to this program, and really the Office of Illinois Works overall. We are going to be talking about some of the other programs in the Office of Illinois Works. And certainly there are entire teams that are accountable for the apprenticeship initiative and the bid credit program and our career services team. So we are ever expanding to provide your programs with more assistance and services. So a little bit of information about the discussion today. So first of all, Illinois Works was created as a result of Governor Pritzker's historic $45 billion capital plan and his commitment to expanding equity in the Illinois construction workforce. If we could expand to the next slide, please. So we're going to advance. There we go. To continue, as an Illinois Works grantee, you are now part of this new initiative that will create opportunities for Illinois businesses, Illinois communities, and Illinois families. Illinois Works consists of three key programs: the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, which was the second overall program that was implemented, and the first program, of course, was the Apprenticeship Initiative. This training is the first of a three-part series, as I mentioned, that will review the sections, the 14 sections of the 2024 Grantee Manual. And it was meant to ensure that grantees can effectively implement their Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. I do want to point out that these training sessions are not substitutes for reading the Grantee Manual. It's an extremely relevant and important guide as you build your program and continue your program. And in fact, the grant managers utilize the Grantee Manual at a minimum on a monthly basis to perform the guidance on compliance and other topics that you'll begin to learn about over the next several webinars. So for today, over the next 3 hours, we will cover the first sections of the 2024 Grantee Manual. Please note that throughout this session, facilitators will refer to the Grantee Manual page numbers or tables, templates, exhibits, and sections. And all of this guidance and references in this session today are from the 2024 Grantee Manual. The manual includes exhibits. Exhibits are tools to help demonstrate or clarify information and are meant to be used as is and not changed. And there are templates, which are tools that can be changed or modified, maybe adding your logo or tailored to suit your specific needs for your convenience. So it's also important to know that manuals from previous grant years are no longer valid with the publication of the 2024 Grantee Manual. If you like, you can follow along with this grant manual as we discuss it, and a link will be provided for you in the chat in order to download it. So we'll start with section 1, which is an introduction to Illinois Works. And we'll move on to section 2, which will cover program culture. And then we will discuss staff roles, partnerships, and provider relationships, along with leveraged resources. So those will be the 3 sections of the grantee manual that this webinar will cover today. So let's talk more specifically about some of the course objectives. First, and if we could advance the slide. There we go, thank you. We're going to discuss the relationship between the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and the Office of Illinois Works. We will identify the Illinois Works 3 key programs, reference Illinois Works definitions, articulate Illinois Works program core values, list the Illinois Works staff roles, measure cultural elements, incorporate DIBE into your program design, comply with legal expectations, explain the critical role of partners, differentiate between partners and providers, discuss implementing an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, and overcome barriers to successful partnerships. So as a reminder, this session will be recorded, and we do that to make it available for review on our Illinois Works Partner Guide. These recordings are not meant to substitute for the required attendance live of each training module or each onboarding session, but they are there for your convenience and a reference on our Partner Guide. A link to the Partner Guide has been placed in the chat. Again, that's an extremely important site, so you probably will want to bookmark that if you have not already. So any questions before we proceed to the next section? If so, please feel free to unmute your line or post your question in the chat. Are there any questions in the chat?
We don't have any questions, Dan.
Okay, great, thank you. So actually our next section we will begin, we'll actually talk about a foundation of how we can interact during these sessions. We're going to start with introducing WebEx. For those of you that aren't as familiar, WebEx is the primary tool that the state of Illinois uses for a video program such as this and technical assistance and all of our professional development that is not held in person. We will identify Illinois Works staff and other course participants in this next section and identify what you all hope to learn from this training. And this is a really important component because we do want these to be interactive. Certainly there's a lot of topics to cover, but we do want to ensure that there's interactivity and a growth within the grantee network. So in order for you to be fully engaged, let's review some of the basic WebEx system features. First of all, there's the mute and unmute section, button on everyone's screen. We ask that whenever you join our professional development, that you ensure that you have your microphone muted. But we do have designated times during the presentations that we will offer you the opportunity to unmute, to ask questions, and engage with the entire network. There is the stop start video button, and that is for your own camera. You're certainly welcome to have your camera off, or you can have it on so that we can see your engagement, but that is up to you. There's the ability to raise your hand. We're not using this as frequently for the most part. We're asking if you have a question rather than raising your hand to place it into the chat. There are emojis. there are, several different, descriptions to let us know how you're doing, your levels of excitement, particularly if there's a complicated subject and you want us to go slower. There's the turtle that you can throw out there for us to know that you'd like us to cover more of the material in depth. And then the chat feature. So the chat feature, again, is extremely important throughout the presentations. Please feel free to put questions into the chat. Some of them may be able to be answered directly, especially if they're technical questions that you're having some sort of difficulty with. One of the facilitators or team members will be able to address it, or when we get to the designated Q&A portions, we'll have one of the facilitators read the chat or read the question, and we'll be able to address it then. There's also a groups feature, but we do not use that during most of our webinars, and we won't be using it during this particular webinar. So again, if you have any comments or questions after this training, you can also email us directly. So most of you have been in contact with, or at least received an introduction email from your grant manager. So you're free to email your grant manager directly, or our general mailbox, which, as you can see, is ceo.ilwgrantmanagement@illinois.gov, and we'll place that in the chat for you as well for your convenience. One way we are working to include engagement is through Mentimeter. So we're going to encourage you all to log into Mentimeter at this time. You can do that by going to menti.com. That's MENTI.com. And you'll be able to enter that code. That information is being placed in the chat for you. There's also a direct link. So you can just click on that link. It's a little bit longer than just menti.com, and that way you won't have to enter the code. So there are two ways to go in. Again, menti.com and then enter the code, or just click on the direct link. This will allow you to fully participate in the training, and with anything, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. So we want a very engaged grantee network, and this will help us achieve that goal. So we're going to start with using Mentimeter to answer the following questions. So if you could, again, log into Mentimeter and share with us your name, your organization or agency, your role, and your geographic location. So again, in the chat is the links for Menti, menti.com, MENTI.com, and the code is 5867-6839. All right, so we have some folks that were able to, enter the introduction information. Thank you very much. LaShonda Hayes, I know you're with YMCA Chicago. Thank you for entering that information. Shubra, you're with Quad County Urban League in Aurora. Welcome. Katrina Henderson, also with Quad County in Aurora. Got the whole team there. Thank you. We have Rebecca Dalleman. I'm sorry, hopefully I'm pronouncing most of these names correctly. Certainly I'm trying. With the YMCA of Chicago as well. Joe Chapa with Lewis University in Chicago. Good morning, everyone. We have Jamie with the American Job Center, the Rock County Tri-County Consortium. Thank you for being here today. Let's see, if we could scroll down a little bit, we have Sharon Hodges with Women's Innovation Group in Southern Cook County. Good morning and welcome. Sarah Cleveland, also with Rock County. Thank you for being here today. Of course, Monica, our grant manager. Thank you. Roger Sosa with Metropolitan Family Services in Chicago, the Chicago North version of that grantee. Thank you for being here, Roger. Latricia Alexander with CPO, Chicagoland Prison Outreach. Thank you. Mimi Petrovich with Women's Innovation Group is also here from South Chicago. Merrick Nish with Metropolitan Family Services the other MFS grantee. Thank you for being here, Merrick. Gail Newcomb with Women's Innovation Group. We have Carrie Thurman out of Danville Area Community College. Welcome, thank you for being here. And we have Juria with Awaken. Thank you all very much for entering this information. As we go through, you're going to learn from one another. You're going to be able to rely on each other. So I know this isn't as convenient as an in-person networking session, but we do want to encourage communication and growth through our own network. So thank you all for being here. I see we have some others that have popped up. Corey Buchanan with CPO as well, Jennifer with Awaken, Tina with YMCA. So good morning, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. So we're going to move on to our next Mentimeter question. We can advance the screen.
Yeah, Dan, there is a really awkward delay. So
Okay.
it's really like around 4 to 5 seconds. I'm trying to anticipate 5 seconds before you'll need it to change.
All right. So our next Mentimeter question is, what excites you about the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program? So we're just going to look for a couple of answers here really quickly. Don't overthink it. But please go again, menti.com. Can we post the Menti links in the chat again, so that if anyone had accidentally come out, we can jump in there. So what excites you about the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program? Looks like we've, yeah, there we go. Something you're thinking about, looking to try, some of the reasons your organization maybe applied for the NOFO. So the empowerment, the possibilities, the careers for individuals, obviously it's all about helping participants achieve their life goals. So these are all, right in line with, what we hope we can accomplish at the state level. So developing young adults, changing lives, certainly, that is the goal. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's unique about the Office of Illinois Works to achieve some of these. So the culture of Illinois Works certainly is an exciting part of it. So thank you all so much for sharing this information. I know it's going to take a little bit of time to cycle through the next one, but why don't we try to go ahead and move to the next Mentimeter question. Thank you all so much for your responses. This is great. So while we wait for that to advance to the next one, I'll keep sharing some of the information. So diversifying in industry, sharing student resources. There were so many excellent thoughts and ideas there. So our last question for this period is there anything in particular you were hoping we cover today? So how to get started in the program? Absolutely. And again, the grantee manual is the guidance, and helping these sessions will help you understand its intent and how it can be used. So that's a wonderful way to begin the program. So someone said being new, they're looking to learn as much as possible. Certainly, we're hoping to provide you with the information that you need. A better understanding of what is expected, absolutely. Best practices for new grantees. We will always try to point out tips and techniques, things we've learned from the grantee network as we've developed the program. So we certainly will share that information. Another idea of best practices, common problems to avoid, innovative ways to develop the most successful programs. That is really, the important part of what we are covering today. Reinforcing manual elements, key pages to focus on in the grantee manual. Certainly, that's what we are here for, to share that information. Updates regarding attendance system. That's really something that will be covered in our update, IWRS update meeting and the Grantee Manual update sessions. But as we cover them in the various onboardings, we'll certainly be sharing all that information with you. The culture of Illinois Works, we have an entire section on that, and we're looking forward to sharing that information. So thank you all for those thoughts, and I think we're all in the right program and ready to get started. So do we have any questions before we proceed to the next section? So this would be a good opportunity to unmute your line or post any questions in the chat. So any questions in the chat?
There are no questions in the chat, but it looks like Gail Newcomb just raised her hand.
Hi, everyone, with Women Innovation Group. So we are, my whole group is new to the program. So I've been reading the grant manual, and it's so much coming at us. And I know we get a extended time to really get everything up and running before we bring in the participants. One of my question is in terms of, it's overwhelming in a lot of ways. I'm gonna be honest, it's very overwhelming, but, and I know you guys are there to help. Is there a system in place already in terms of bringing in this information? I hope I'm saying this right. So I am reading the grant manual and going step by step. And there are some things I don't understand. You don't cover that today. I know I just got to wait until you cover it. But is it a system in place already that would be easier for me to follow so that I can catch up and start running this race easier?
By a system in place, I'm not quite understanding the question. So can you expand a little bit on what you mean by, is there a system in place?
Yes, Dan. So normally I know when I did work myself in previous and I outline how I want people to do stuff, I actually give them a pattern to follow. Like, read this first, do this part first, because it's going to help you with the second part. That's what I mean.
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. Thank you. We do have planned throughout the year additional technical assistance and professional development sessions, and some of those will be to kind of highlight some of the foundational support, but also you will start to be engaged with the Illinois Works coaches as well as your grant manager with a one-on-one meeting. And they will also take you through kind of step by step some of the things that that need to get done to launch a program. So in conjunction with your reading of the grantee manual, these onboarding sessions, we do plan on having all those assistances brought to you.
All right, thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. It's a great question. Yeah, because obviously there is a lot, and we do understand that, and we have had a very successful program of onboarding. All right, let's move on to our third title, and I do want to let my team know I am aware of the time, so thank you for the updates. We're going to try to move forward a little bit quicker. So if we can advance the screen. Excellent, thank you. Here we're looking to articulate the mission of DCEO, where we will explain how the Illinois Works Job Program Act supports the governor's 5-year economic plan. We'll describe the benefits of the apprenticeship programs. We're going to discuss the 3 key Illinois Works jobs programs that together create a unique and innovative 3-prong approach to workforce development. We're going to describe each of the DCEO's Office of Illinois Works programs. So that's the Apprenticeship Initiative, the Pre-Apprenticeship Program, and the Bid Credit Program. And we're going to talk about each program's design and requirements and reference fundamental program definitions. And a lot of times the definitions are of key importance because they relate to either the grantee manual or possibly your grant agreement directly. All right, so if we can advance the slide, we are going to start with section 1 of the grantee manual, the intro to Illinois Works. So as I had mentioned, Illinois Works was created as a result of Governor Pritzker's historic $45 billion capital plan. So Rebuild Illinois and his commitment to expanding equity in the Illinois construction workforce. So those three things are really what drive Illinois Works. This is a top priority for the governor's economic plan. With this new capital funding set to pave the way for tens of thousands of jobs over the next decade, the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act was intentionally designed to increase equity and opportunity in capital construction jobs. The intention is to reinvigorate the workforce in Illinois for years to come. So we have in the chat a link to the Illinois Economic Plan executive summary, as well as the full report. And these are available on the DCO website that link will take you to. So the Illinois Works model is an innovative workforce development model. What's unique is that it creates job demand, a talent pipeline, and incentives to hire and retain. So typically workforce development models have one or maybe two of these key components. And studies have shown that any one or combination of any two of these have substantial impacts on workforce improvement. However, what makes the Illinois Works program innovative is that it encompasses all three of these key components. It creates a comprehensive response to workforce development from various angles. So that's why we believe Illinois Works is a one-of-a-kind initiative and is in a unique position to make a tremendous difference in Illinois. So let's start by taking a deeper dive into the relationship between the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, DCEO, and the Office of Illinois Works and the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act. So the Office of Illinois Works is a bureau housed within the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. To access DCEO information, you can go to the DCEO website, which is simply dceo.illinois.gov. And for those of you that have previously accessed the website, it's constantly changing. So you should note that this is a relatively new address in the last couple of years for them. And I think we've already posted the website in the chat for you. So when you do go to the DCO website, you can type Illinois Works into the search field, and the Illinois Works program should be the top search result that comes up. By selecting that search result, it will take you to the DCEO Illinois Works Job Program Act. And that will appear along with information on the left-hand side regarding each of the programs that the Office of Illinois Works has. So I think if we go to the next slide, we'll see that. You know, it takes a moment to update sometimes. So the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunities mission. The mission is to support and maintain. There's the Jobs Program Act, and on the left-hand column, we have some of the programs. So as you go through the DCO website, you'll have a little bit of more context to what that's providing. But again, DCEO's mission is to support and maintain a climate that enables a strong economy for our customers. Those customers are taxpayers, businesses, workers, and communities. And it enables that strong economy by keeping, attracting, and growing businesses, maintaining a skilled workforce, and enhancing communities so that the climate here is one in which businesses, both large and small, their workers, can all succeed to the greatest extent possible. DCEO delivers impactful and efficient programs and services to the community. So we're going to skip forward. One, we had a question about who DCEO serves. I had just mentioned it, so hopefully you would have all gotten this correct. It's taxpayers, businesses, workers, and community. Those are our customers. So if we can just skip through that slide. Again, it is important to understand those customers, though, that it's not just businesses, it's not just the residents of Illinois, it's the taxpayers, the workers, and the communities. So how does the Office of Illinois Works fit into this? Well, the Office of Illinois Works is a bureau within DCEO. So DCEO oversees the Office of Illinois Works, and it is an integral part of the governor's 5-year economic plan. So data shows that unfortunately for too long, the construction industry and trades have not been accessible for diverse communities. And fewer than 10% of the best paid apprenticeships are extended to women and racial and ethnic minorities. So this new capital funding is set to pave the way for tens of thousands of jobs over the next decade. And the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act was intentionally designed to increase equity and opportunity in capital construction projects. This was done with the Illinois General Assembly. The Illinois General Assembly is a bicameral legislature of the state of Illinois, and is comprised of the Illinois House of Representatives and the Illinois Senate. The Illinois General Assembly passed the Illinois Jobs Program Act on June 28, 2019, and through the Jobs Program Act, the Illinois General Assembly appropriated funds for the pre-apprenticeship program. Now, it's important to note that the capital project funding was appropriated by the Rebuild Illinois Act, and they're working in conjunction. So the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act is a statewide initiative to ensure that all Illinois residents have access to state capital projects and careers, including in the construction industry and building trades. The goal is to provide contracting and employment opportunities to historically underrepresented populations in the construction industry and the construction trades. So you can access the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act from the Illinois General Assembly's website. We'll place that in the chat, and you'll be able to actually read the text of the act that was written into law. So we had talked about equity in the construction trades and how data shows that for too long, the construction industry has not been accessible for diverse communities. We're going to take a look at the data in just a moment and talk about it during this training session. The goal for Illinois Works Jobs Program is to expand apprenticeship opportunities with a targeted focus on underrepresented populations, so specifically women, people of color, and veterans. An expansion of apprenticeship opportunities will not only help boost employment and wages for more Illinois residents, but will also yield significant benefits for our economy, our economy at large, since the construction sector is projected to grow 12% in the next 10 years. On average, jobs in this sector pay $18 an hour to apprentices enrolled in U.S. Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs, and $32 per hour to those that successfully graduate and achieve journey worker status. Investments in job training in the construction industry will also result in significant long-term economic impact for the state, totaling $1.2 billion. In fact, for every dollar invested in construction job training, such as the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, Illinois obtains $11 in social and economic returns. So tremendously impactful. The intention is to reinvigorate the workforce in Illinois for the future. So this exciting new initiative will create opportunities for Illinois businesses, communities, and families. So exactly the customers that DCEO serves. So our next Mentimeter question, we can again get back to some engagement, is recognizing that Illinois Works is a top priority for the governor's economic plan. So how do apprenticeship programs impact individuals, families, communities, and businesses? So again, share with us your thoughts on that and how, again, this is the impetus really for your wanting to be part of the program, right? To implement these programs to assist individuals moving forward. So how do apprenticeship programs impact individuals, families, communities, and businesses? So hopefully you did not log out of Menti. Again, we're going to be using it throughout the presentation. If you have, you can go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and enter the code 5867-6839. So we have some responses starting here. How do apprenticeship programs impact families, businesses, communities, and individuals? Well, it's a career start. It expands their options, certainly. It can boost self-esteem. You know, the mental health of individuals and having a purpose, you know, cannot be overstated. Stability, employment, for some it can be a new beginning. It can begin the start of generational wealth and stability for families, creates opportunity, especially for women. These are all fantastic ideas. It's a hands-on experience, certainly. Everyone needs to have, you know, everyone has different abilities, and this plays right into some folks' strengths, right? Just an increase in money, that provides so many benefits, right? You have healthier outcomes. You have, you know, children that come from, that are then able to attend school, and they have, you know, meals, and it has such a wide-ranging impact as we go. Wonderful. Thank you all very much for your participation. These are fantastic responses. So thank you. As we move to the next section, are there any questions that anyone has about the content that we just covered? If so, go ahead and unmute your line. No? Okay. As a reminder, again, if you have questions during a section, please go ahead and put those into the chat, and then we'll be able to discuss them at the end of each section. So we'll go ahead and move forward. We'll start with the Illinois Works key programs. In this section, we're going to ensure that you're able to list the 3 Illinois Works job programs that together create the innovative 3-prong workforce development model, describe each of DCO's programs from the apprenticeship initiative to the pre-apprenticeship program to the bid credit program. So we will, before I move forward, does anyone have any questions about these objectives or the offices of Illinois Works? This content. Okay, great. So we will start by reviewing the apprenticeship initiative, going through the pre-apprenticeship program, then the bid credit program. So let's talk about each of these in more detail. Starting with the apprenticeship initiative, this program is designed to create the demand for apprentices in the construction industry. I think I got a little ahead of the slides here. If we could advance, there we go. So this applies to public works projects with an estimated cost of $500,000 or more, which includes capital grants, loans, and direct capital contracts and awards. And for applicable projects, the goal is that for U.S. Department of Labor certified apprentices to perform 10% of the total labor hours actually worked in each prevailing wage category, or 10% of the estimated labor hours in each of those prevailing wage categories, whichever is less. The goal is that U.S. Department of Labor certified apprentices will be able to perform that work and will be required to perform that work. Of those, that 10%, half of the apprenticeship hours in the existing goals, so that's 5%, right? Half of the 10% must be performed by graduates of the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, the Climate Works Program, or the Highway Construction Careers Program. So these graduates must perform 5% in order for the agencies to comply with the apprenticeship initiative. By having an established goal, this creates the demand that contractors will have to hire more apprentices. The apprenticeship initiative launched in June of 2020, and as of December of 2023, 2 months ago technically now, it was overseeing the implementation of over 818 projects worth over $5.3 billion. And again, there's a component that will ensure that your graduates are a part of all of that. And as part of Illinois Works' commitment to continuous quality improvement, in August of 2021, the apprenticeship initiative launched a new system that allows the team to transition from manual quarterly reporting, which they did at the start of the program, to a real-time reporting system utilizing Smartsheet technology. Certainly, to manage $5.3 billion, they needed some semblance of automation there. The key here is that Smartsheet provides an electronic process that is user-friendly and allows for real-time reporting to occur in the following categories: projects, progress, compliance, and then closeout. Excuse me. So it is the responsibility of state agencies to ensure that their contractors and grantees follow each of the compliance steps. The Office of Illinois Works proactively monitors each project. The next key program that we will discuss, losing my voice here, is the pre-apprenticeship program. So certainly that's the one that we are all here part of. Just as the apprenticeship initiative is creating the demand for jobs, the pre-apprenticeship program is creating a pipeline of diverse candidates to respond to that demand. So the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program creates a qualified talent pipeline. It was launched in 2021 with 23 grantee programs. The grantee network has continued to grow, and this year the network will contain 36 providers delivering services throughout the state of Illinois. The pre-apprenticeship program has 5 different models that are in operation and are actively evaluated to determine how each program can best support the differing workforce development organizations to bring about equity in construction and the building trades. This program delivers pre-apprenticeship skills training through a network of community-based organizations, including community colleges, faith-based organizations, business associations, and several others. Participants in the program are able to attend tuition-free and receive a stipend and other supportive services to help address the systemic barriers which prevent them from entering and succeeding in the construction industry and the trades. So as a summary, the pre-apprenticeship program provides pre-apprenticeship skills training through a network of community-based organizations. It gives preference and focus to underrepresented populations that have historically encountered barriers to entry or advancement in the trades. It's free of tuition, and it provides a stipend to participants who attend the program. And this is all made possible through a $25 million appropriation of Illinois Works funds. So our current status, and this is, applies to all of us here, for the 2024 program year, we have 31 grantees that have received 36 grants across the state of Illinois, representing approximately an $18.3 million investment. The average award is a little over $500,000. And our present network of providers has the capacity to serve a little over 1,600 Illinois residents in every economic development region designated by DCEO except one. And of all of the original 29 providers from last year, 26 or 89% of them have accepted grant renewals, and 10 new grantees, hopefully everyone here, were invited to join the network for 2024. So now let's talk a little bit about the Illinois Works Reporting System, IWRS. So similar to the technology that we talked about with the Apprenticeship Initiative and their use of the Smartsheet platform, the pre-apprenticeship program is committed to leveraging technology for continuous program improvement as well. And that is primarily represented by IWRS. So the Office of Illinois Works, in partnership with Southern Illinois University's Center for Workforce Development, it's quite a title, designed IWRS and launched the system in February of 2022. And due to the custom design, IWRS will allow grantees to track the pre-apprenticeship program inquiries, participants, and grantee partnerships. The system allows programs to track the key information about a participant's progress from outreach and recruitment, engagement, application, enrollment, the career and support assessments, and through attendance of the training and completion, as well as into their transition services. IWRS data is used for program compliance, for reimbursement, and a 10-year longitudinal study where we will continue to follow up with the participants to determine their advancement in the trades. IWRS is the definitive source for program data. So it's critical that your organization prioritizes IWRS data entry. We're going to talk in more detail about compliance and the performance based reimbursement portion of the grant, but it boils down to data entry into IWRS. So one of our sayings is, if it's not in IWRS, it did not happen. So your onboarding schedule will include IWRS trainings, and you want to make sure that the appropriate staff are attending each one of those trainings. You will see that all of the sessions being offered are available through the partner guide. So we'll share that partner guide link with you again in the chat. And please make sure that, that everyone has registered for those sessions as well. The life cycle. So this is an image that you're going to become very familiar with as we go through the onboarding session and the grantee manual onboarding in particular. This represents the pre-apprenticeship life cycle as a participant moves through that cycle. It outlines the steps that participants take, and it tracks their progress from the initial program outreach to post-transition follow-up. Each stage represents an integral step in preparing participants to enroll in a DOL registered apprenticeship program, which of course is the focus, is the outcome that we are measured by. So it's important to note one thing though, that although this is a circular design, it is not necessarily one step after the other. There are times when you're conducting multiple steps at the same time, or for example, transition services can be conducted throughout the entire life cycle. So looking at some of the enrollment and underrepresented groups, which is of course the focus of building equity into the trades. This data represents information as of July 1st, 2023, and the far right column represents displays the representation of underrepresented groups currently in the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. So you can see that in 2023, the Illinois population of women represented about 51% of the population. In construction and trades, women unfortunately are represented by 1/10 of that, so only about 5% of the population. In the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, we've been able to improve that number, and we are at almost 25% of our program it includes women. So we still have some work to go, but the important part is that the trend is in the right direction and we're increasing that representation. Similarly, African Americans, the Illinois population is about 15%, but the general representation in construction and trades is 8 or 9%. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program has 61% representation. So again, a very positive trend forward. I won't go through every single one of them. Some of them, we certainly have some work to do, particularly with veterans. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program actually underrepresents veterans from the traditional representation in the trades. So, we are always focused on impacting the equity in construction and building trades. We are certainly well positioned to do that in Illinois, and we will continue to do so by decisively reaching out to and recruiting, training, graduating, and transitioning these key, target underrepresented populations. So another technology we had talked about, Illinois Works reporting system. We also want to talk about the Illinois Works heat map. So this is a public map that residents of Illinois will have access to, that grantees will have access to, and it's one of the many tools that we make available to support your success. So this technology provides an overview of statewide demographic data, Illinois Works project data, as well as location and essential information on your pre-apprenticeship programs, as well as the DOL registered apprenticeship programs. So grantees can access information about concentrations of underrepresented populations, Illinois Works projects by county, and of course, as I mentioned, your Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship programs and the DOL registered apprenticeship programs that your graduates can move into. So this map is utilized not only by the pre-apprenticeship program, but also by the apprenticeship initiative, one of the other offices under Illinois Works, to connect the public with local training programs, as well as contractors with apprentices. The map's coloring demonstrates the number of Illinois Works projects happening in each county with a dark pink symbol that will symbolize the higher concentrations, and dark teal representing lower concentrations. So just a quick graphical view of the map. Red circles on the map represent the concentration of underrepresented populations. So you can see there's a large underrepresented concentration in the Cook County and surrounding county areas, but also in other counties, such as Winnebago, Sangamon, several counties there that have large concentrations of underrepresented populations. The blue squares represent DOL registered apprenticeship programs. Certainly you can utilize that to identify new contacts and build new relationships. And the yellow stars represent your programs, the Illinois Works funded pre-apprenticeship programs. So that heat map we're providing a link to. This is from past years. We do obviously need to update the map for 2024. As you meet with your grant managers, one of the items you're going to be asked for is information on a landing page and a public contact. All that information will go into the Illinois Works heat map for 2024. All right. So let's move on to the third DCO Illinois Works key program, which is the bid credit program. So just as the apprenticeship initiative created the demand for jobs, the pre-apprenticeship program is creating the pipeline for diverse candidates to respond to that demand. To complete the puzzle, we've created incentives to help ensure that the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program graduates, your graduates, are hired and retained by contractors and subcontractors. So that's those three key components of the puzzle. And the bid credit program does this by incentivizing contractors to hire and retain your graduates. It allows contractors and subcontractors to earn bid credits by employing apprentices who have completed the pre-apprenticeship program. So these are your graduates that have gone on into USDOL registered apprenticeship programs. These bid credits will be used by the contractors and subcontractors toward future bids with Illinois Public Works projects. They, again, need to be funded by the state of Illinois or contracted by an agency of the state in order to utilize these bid credits. So there's more information available on the bid credit program. It's a tremendous tool that is going to create that incentive to hire your graduates. But let me summarize the program a little bit. The bid credit program allows contractors and subcontractors to earn bid credits for use on future bids for public works projects contracted by the state or an agency of the state. The bid credits can only be earned by employing apprentices who have completed the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program. They can earn those bid credits by employing those apprentices on any project, public projects, private projects. That is open. But the credits themselves can only be used on bids for public projects contracted by the state. DCO determines the bid credit earning rate by rule based on labor hours worked on state contracted projects by apprentices who have completed the pre-apprenticeship program or by private projects. The rate is published and may include maximum bid credits allowed per contractor, per subcontractor, per apprentice, per bid, or per year. So there are some stipulations there. DCO's Office of Illinois Works created a bid credit bank that was established and administered and will be administered by DCO. DCO also developed a platform for tracking the bid credits for participating contractors and the Illinois Works graduates that they employ. So the bid credits framework and rules are still being finalized. However, we began outreach efforts to contractors across the state. We did this this past fall of 2023, and they will utilize the applicant tracking system and a bid credit platform for contractors who become, and this will all become operational, projected in March of 2024. So I just mentioned the applicant tracking system. So the applicant tracking system, or ATS, is a database that tracks graduates and allows companies to review their resumes. Contractors or other companies that are looking to hire those graduates. So the ATS system connects all three of the Illinois Works programs. It traces the professional qualification and trajectory of Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program graduates. And Illinois Works graduates are required, Illinois Works grantees are therefore required to add your graduates to a candidate pool for contractors and employers seeking to hire them or sponsor them into apprenticeships. So that is, again, where each of your organizations come in. Upon Illinois Works verifying the individual has graduated and achieved all of the required outcomes of instruction, then the grantees are required to enter those participants, those graduates, into the ATS system. Illinois Works will provide training on the applicant tracking system later this grant year, and it will be part of the professional development schedule. So please keep an eye on your partner guide for more information on that. As I mentioned, the applicant tracking system connects all three Illinois Works programs. It offers Illinois Works grantees the opportunity to add their graduates to a candidate pool for contractors and employers. And this is where the talent pipeline and job demand come together. So this system is a great way for contractors to connect with the pre-apprentices, the Illinois Works pre-apprentices, and help the contractors earn bid credits through the Illinois Works Bid Credit Program. To ensure collaboration between each of the three key programs, Illinois Works requires the following. Contractors needing to comply with the 10% apprenticeship initiative goal will come to the applicant tracking system to look for qualified candidates to hire and then sponsor them into DOL registered apprenticeship programs if they're not already. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program will ensure that grantees have are entering the profiles of their graduates into the ATS system with an updated resume. Grantees are responsible for keeping that information current at the time of upload and through the first year of follow-up. Contractors that join the bid credit program will come to the applicant tracking system to look for those qualified candidates to hire or to sponsor into the registered apprenticeship programs. And by doing so, they will continue to earn bid credits. So that's how those three programs come together with the ATS. So before we proceed to the next section, I'm going to check for questions, but I want you all to know that we are going to be taking a 10-minute break. So let me check for questions first. And so feel free to unmute your line and I will check now. Are there any questions in the chat?
Hi, Dan. There is one question from Patricia, and she asked, will you be discussing some of the different trades or roles that will be available for the participants?
So by trades and roles, are you referring to, I guess I need a little more clarification. Are you referring to the DOL registered apprenticeships that are available for graduates?
And
So
Patricia,
the
feel
answer was
free to
yes.
unmute yourself. Yes.
So it's certainly, we're going to talk about partnerships toward the end of today's presentation, and one component of partnerships will be developing relationships with different registered apprenticeship programs so that your organizations have an understanding of their application windows and different things like that. But overall, that isn't an intensely focused part of this particular training today, but that is definitely something that is a key component of the Illinois Works program, is understanding what opportunities are available for the graduates in your area. So that is something that we focus and we touch on in different trainings. And then, in fact, as you go through the grant year, we'll be having monthly meetings to discuss the transition service coordinator role and developing those relationships. So that's an excellent question, because it's such it's a foundational issue for your participants. Okay, any other questions in the chat?
No, that was the only question in the chat.
Excellent. All right, so we are free to take a 10-minute break. It is 10:41, so I'm going to ask everyone to be back at 10:51. So please, go ahead, get up, stretch a little bit, and we'll come back. And Dr. Yolanda will be discussing program culture at that time. So again, 10:51. Thank you.
Okay, my clock says 10:51. Is everyone back from break? Shall I get started?
Hi, Yolanda. Yes, we are ready to start back.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, as Dan stated, I'll be discussing the program culture in this particular section of the onboarding. For this particular session, we have like four, four or five objectives. I'm sorry. Which are to list the Signal Works pre-apprenticeship program core values. We're going to incorporate recommended tools to measure the utilization of the core values, articulate the impact of an equity focus on Illinois Works program goals, and to infuse diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity into your program culture and each program elements and each phase of the pre-apprenticeship participant life cycle. So let's move right on into section 2, Program 2024 Grantee Manual. Okay, we're going to start this session with a question using the Mentimeter. So the question is, how does your organization define program culture? Using your Mentimeter. It's probably going to take a few seconds to come up, so let's be patient. Does everyone see it? Because I'm not seeing it.
It's up
Okay,
now.
here we
It's
go.
up. It's up.
Okay, social economic. Okay. Okay, I see social economics. Okay, planning, tone of the program, executing. Okay, to monitor the program. Okay, mission, collective goals. Okay, these are all great. Agency impact. Okay, great responses. Thank you so much for your responses. Now, a program's culture refers to a program's environment. Now, for our purposes, it is the pattern of beliefs, values, rituals, relationships, and practices shared by Illinois Works and the grantees as well as the participants in the program. The program culture is key to effective service delivery and participant outcomes. Now, there are four core components to the Illinois Works program culture. The first one is honoring the program core values. Number two is tools to measure cultural elements. And the third one is understanding the impact of Illinois Works equity focus. And last but definitely not least is incorporating diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity. Now, each of these should be incorporated just throughout the whole program from the initial contact with the participant, emphasized during the training, and reinforced while transitioning participants into an apprenticeship program and employment. Now, let us review each of these in more detail. We're going to use again the Mentimeter to answer this question. What elements or characteristics do you think creates a positive and impactful pre-apprenticeship program culture? It's taking a few minutes, but okay. Is everyone seeing? Because I'm not seeing the responses. I think these are the responses from the
It
last
just popped
question.
up on mine, so I'm thinking about
Okay.
what to write. Yes.
Okay. For some reason I'm okay. Here we go. Honesty, growth, trust. Okay, these are all great responses. Listening, open lines of communication. Okay, those are great responses, and those are, actually speaks to what a great program culture is about. So, but we're going to first start with the first one, which is honoring the program core values. Now, Illinois Works identified 6 program core values that are central to creating a positive and impactful program culture. Now, the program core values are the foundational ethics and principles grantees are expected to incorporate throughout each phase of the pre-apprenticeship life cycle. Now, they should serve as a guiding light for behavior and decision making within the program. Each of these core values are intended to inspire and constrain actions to ensure the program maintains the highest ethics and principles and remains focused on bringing equity and inclusion to construction and the trades. I want to repeat that because that's very important for the Illinois Works program. It remains focused on bringing equity and inclusion to construction and the trades because this is an equity focused program. Okay, the first of those values is overcoming barriers, which is so important because we know some of the participants from the underrepresented groups have barriers. Now, the foundation of the Illinois Works program is to ensure equitable access and opportunities to historically underrepresented populations. The grantee should focus on building an environment that eliminates or reduces the impact of structural barriers facing participants and also celebrate their cultural and their ethnic differences. This is so important because we need to actually understand their differences, and we do that with empathetic listening and things like that. But we also need to empower for resilience and self-sufficiency. The program design and implementation should focus on how participants will complete the program successfully because that's the end goal. We want them to be successful in the program, but also on teaching participants long-term skills that will allow them to build resilience, become self-sufficient, and secure a long-term career because we're wanting them to become economically self-sufficient. Now, the third one is to impact through outcomes. People and programs grow when goals are set and outcomes are measured. The Illinois Works program grantees are expected to track program and participant metrics and also to make adjustments to cultivate further success or strengthen weak points. Now, while outcomes are fueled by metrics, now it's always important to remember that outcomes also measure your program's impact and the difference you are making in the lives of the participants because we are wanting to actually make a difference in the lives of these participants. It is a measure of your organization and program mission, not simply just a number. We're wanting to impact lives. Okay. Now, the fourth one is to innovate persistently. Ongoing progress and adaptation allow for long term success. This value focuses on helping the program and participants develop a drive to continue acquiring and strengthening skills. Um, we also want to build a community of collaboration. Successful learning is rooted in a safe, welcoming, and collaborative environment. Illinois Works should develop an environment that promotes respect for all participants and staff, practices open and empathetic listening, and attends to the lived experiences of all participants. What I want you to really take away from that is respecting our participants and also the staff needs to be respected. Okay. And we need to have empathetic listening, not just with the participants, but with one another as we try to implement this program. Now, maximizing differences, diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity is more than meeting certain metrics. It is ensuring that each participant feels they belong in the classroom, that their voice is being heard, and that their contributions are valued. Now, each of the program core values is rooted in the ultimate goal of the pre-apprenticeship program, bringing about diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity in the construction and building trades. Now, we will talk more about diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity shortly. But first, I want to talk about the tools to measure the program culture. Now that we've covered honoring the program core values, let us move to the second component, which I said the tools to measure these cultural elements. Okay, having core values is great, But how can you be assured that your program staff and instructors are performing in a way that conforms to those values? How do you know which components of your program are hitting the mark and which require improvement? Don't expect what you don't inspect. Those are the words of W. Clement Stone from 1962. Don't expect what you don't inspect, meaning that you must proactively inspect your program's performance. You must measure. Measuring cultural elements can be difficult, but it's possible. Now, in the Grantee manual, they provided a cultural strategist measurement matrix, which is on page 39, and it makes recommendations for measuring the core values. Now, we're going to use Mentimeter again, and we're going to answer the question, which Illinois Works core value is currently a part of your program's culture? How do you demonstrate them? It's going to take a few seconds. Okay, I'm still not seeing it. I guess I need to be patient. Okay, outcome measures. Respect, uh, empower resilience through encouraging participants to push through the obstacles. Oh, that's a great one. Yes, we try to incorporate all of them, but we need to do okay better with measurement. Overcoming barriers. Okay, these are great responses. Okay, we want to incorporate them all. Okay, communication. That's key. Thank you so much. Did I get kicked out? I thought I had gotten kicked out. I'm sorry, you all. Okay. Moving right along, let's talk about the first value is overcoming barriers. Now, some recommendations for that is to use a wraparound service assessment. Now, we review wraparound services data to identify additional partners that provide services the grantee organizations do not have the capacity to offer. Now, the participants can opt in and out of these wraparound services at any point throughout the participation in the program. Now, another recommended thing you can do to overcome barriers is to use participant satisfaction survey. Now, using the chat, identify what information might you be able to gather from a participant satisfaction survey that might help inform your pre-apprenticeship program. For some reason, I think I'm having a delay in all of the questions, whether it's the chat or the Mentimeter. So does anyone see anything in the chat to respond to this question?
Yes,
No
I
questions.
do.
Okay, what do you see there?
So they got the statement, which ILW core value is currently a part of your culture. That's what's up there. How do you demonstrate them?
Okay, so has anyone put anything in the chat
Oh, I
to
have.
respond to that question?
Hi,
Okay,
Yolanda.
I'm not seeing anything for some reason.
No, there are no comments at this point in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Um, but even though there's not anything in the chat, what we could use these surveys for is to help identify barriers that the participants are facing. It also helps with understanding their perspective on how the program was able to address those barriers, as well as information on how to restructure their program moving forward. Um, Now the new satisfaction survey form, it'll be coming out this year, and it'll be provided to participants who successfully complete the program. Now the next core value is empower for resilience and self-sufficiency. Again, we can use the wraparound services assessment. This assessment can also act as a foundation for long-term planning for participants who may have needs beyond the program. Now the grantees are not necessarily responsible for wraparound services beyond the program, but they may seek to help students address these issues through alternate programs or develop plans that extend beyond graduation. Now, the next is innovating persistently. It's the next core value. Now, for this, we can use like improvement plans. Um, Again, we're gonna try to use the chat. I don't know if it'll work or not, but answer the question: how a program improvement plan might inform your ability to innovate persistently.
Hi, Yolanda. Just to let you know, there are comments now in the chat from your previous question. So I'll just add that
Okay.
as individuals are adding comments to the chat for your current question. But regarding the
Okay. Thank you, Gia.
Oh, no problem. Regarding the survey, it says that the survey can help with overall program improvement. You can ask participants, that's from LaShonda. Gail says you can ask participants how they feel about the program. Are they focused? You can determine that from an evaluation. And then LaShonda also adds that you can ask participants what support they need.
Okay. Thank you, Gia. Sounds good. Those are all great responses. It's like you're already doing these things, so that's a real plus for your program. So, are there responses now in the chat for innovating persistently?
There's a comment here from from Sharon that says you can find out what isn't working. So you can ask what's working and what's not working, and that might be relevant to the survey again. And so Patricia is asking if you could repeat the question for the innovate persistently.
Okay, thank you, Gia. And and I mean that's a good point about using these tools to improve, because we always want to do continuous improvement through these programs. And with your surveys and the with that you use, we also obtain what we do is evaluations, and we use that information to provide recommendations for continuous improvement as well. And we listen to what you're saying, other things that you've experienced while you've been implementing programs. So it seems like you're already doing these things, and that's amazing. So moving right along, let's talk about impact through outcomes. You can use orientation and pre-transition career assessments. Setting goals and creating plans to achieve them increases the likelihood of success for the participants. Now, these career plans, in combination with these participant progress reports, can help participants track movement toward their goals. Now, you can also use program plans. They can be utilized to help programs improve performance. And these can also demonstrate the impact the grantee made in the previous year. Now, this information can be used for the grantee annual reports or newsletters that you might do or might not for your program. And also for the monthly, you can use monthly compliance progress reports. These can be used in preparation for your monthly program review with the Illinois Works grant manager to verify progress. The next core value is to build a community of collaboration. That is so important work. Build a community of collaboration. For this, you can do non-discrimination, harassment, and bullying complaint forms and logs. A high number of complaints might be a warning sign. Ensuring participants feel safe and their concerns will be taken seriously is a key component in developing a collaborative environment. We always want the participants to feel like they are being heard, because there's nothing more discouraging than thinking that people don't understand or want to hear your complaints or your concerns when they're in a program. Another recommendation is participant satisfaction survey. It's coming up again. It provides a space for participants to rate the program on critical components such as offering support for target populations, empathetic listening, and ensuring instructors and program staff are trained in key areas like trauma-informed and gender-informed services. Now, the last core value, and definitely not, the least important, is maximizing differences. We can use a standardized interview. The wealth of information that can be gathered from these one-on-one interviews can be extremely helpful in program planning and helping connect students to one another, alumni, and apprenticeships. Now, also, the exit interview is a good tool to use. Now, it's similar to the standardized interview, and it's one-on-one, and it's a confidential meeting, and it can offer vital information about if and how well the program is maximizing differences and creating a culture of inclusion and belonging. These interviews are only for those participants who do not successfully complete. Okay, we're back with another Mentimeter question. What tools do you plan to use to measure behavior in your apprenticeship program?
Do you want us to put this in the chat?
No, that's a Mentimeter question. I'm sorry.
It
I'm
has,
so sorry. It's Mentimeter. Technology is great when it works well. Is it up
Yolanda,
now?
you're breaking up
Okay, here we are.
quite I don't know if you have a headset that you can put on.
Okay. Am I better now?
Maybe say but just a couple more sentences.
Okay. Oh, using the Mentimeter, we're going to answer this question.
It does seem to be a little
Is
better
it?
now. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Communication with the participants, assessment, participant surveys. Okay. All right. Thank you for your responses. Now we're going to move on to the third program culture, which is, excuse me, I'm sorry. The third program culture core element is understanding the impact of Illinois Works Equity Focus. And Illinois Works Equity Focus is very important, and it requires grantees to demonstrate their understanding of how race, ethnicity, and gender impact individual access to and experience within a construction and building trades pre-apprenticeship program. Now, we need to have a clear understanding of the challenges that are relevant to equity, and it allows your program to best respond to those challenges. Now, equity data. This is where my team and I come in, and we actually measure using your data, measure equity in your program performance. Now, the data shows that the construction industry, as well as the trades, have not been accessible for many diverse groups, resulting in fewer than 10% of apprenticeships being extended to women and minority groups in many of the higher paid trade jobs. Now, we're going to try this Mentimeter again. What might be some factors that impact equity in construction and in the building trades? gender biases, bias mindset, sexism, skill set level, racism. Okay, nice job. Thank you so much. Um, Now, some of the factors that I have listed that impact equity in construction and the building trades are, these are just some, these are not all of them, but they're not limited to what I'm going to talk about here. But race, ethnicity biases, like you mentioned, and the Mentimeter, gender biases, negative perceptions regarding women working in the construction or the building trades, knowledge regarding occupational opportunities within construction and the building trades, equal access to opportunities for training, and a hostile or unwelcoming workplace environment or culture. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what we already know. Now, many of you are in this work because you understand the relevant issues and the importance of diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity with respect to underrepresented groups in construction and the building trades. Now, however, ensuring that underrepresented groups can successfully enter occupations in the construction and trades is not just about benevolence or doing the right thing. It is also very smart business. Now, as you engage businesses and potential partners to support your program support services, wraparound services, and transition services, it may be necessary for you to make the business case, not just the ethics case. Now, according to research done by McKinsey and Company, gender and ethnic diversity continues to demonstrate a statistically significant correlation with financial performance. Diverse companies experience improved customer orientation, employee satisfaction, and decision making. Companies performing at the highest levels of success have all developed inclusion and diversity strategies for which they were strongly committed. Now, closing this gender gap could add up to $28 trillion. Let me repeat that. Not 28 million, not 28 billion, but $28 trillion to the annual GDP by 2025. Now, companies in the top quartile for ethnic and racial diversity at the management levels were 35% more likely to experience financial returns above their industry's average. Also, construction is experiencing a significant exodus of skilled labor due to the return of the baby boomers and the out-migration from Illinois. Underrepresented populations can effectively fill those gaps. I'm going to stop right here because I don't think that the slide is corresponding to my conversation here.
Hi, Yolanda. Yes, we're on the Here's What We Know slide. Does everyone see Here's What We Know on the screen? You can do a thumbs up
Yes.
or a raised hand. Okay, awesome.
Okay, it must be on my end. I'm having technical issues. I sincerely apologize.
And no, it's
Um,
not just you, Yolanda. It's just a bizarre delay during this program.
okay, okay. So let me just continue. Including underrepresented groups allows companies to have the totality of the available companies that take advantage of extra capital available to them will also experience the benefit. Win-win strategy. Okay.
Yolanda, one of the recommendations is to potentially turn off your camera, and it might improve your bandwidth so that the slides and the conversation will sync up a little better.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Okay. Is that better? Can
Yeah,
you all
so
hear
far,
me? Better now?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay. The demand for construction workers creates a wonderful opportunity to increase underrepresented groups' access to jobs in the construction industry and the building trades. Illinois Works three key programs maximize this opportunity by creating the demand for jobs, creating a pipeline for diverse candidates to help respond to the demand, and providing incentives to help ensure program graduates are hired and retained by contractors and subcontractors. Now, you serve as a critical role in helping fulfill this mission by implementing programs and services that remove barriers, that create a welcome environment, and ensure underrepresented groups can successfully enter occupations within construction and the building trades. Okay, the last component of the program culture is diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity. Now, successful implementation of the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program integrates diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity with the goal of fostering an environment that allows individuals to feel safe, participate fully, develop professionally, and reach their fullest potential. Now, DIBE, in conjunction with all six of the Illinois Works core values, should be woven into all aspects of the pre-apprenticeship programs for Illinois Works. So let's start with diversity. A successful pre-apprenticeship program helps create a qualified talent pipeline to fill job opportunities in construction and the building trades with diverse candidates from underrepresented groups. Diversity is defined as the ways in which people differ, encompassing specific characteristics that may include, but they're not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, age, national origin, religion, disability, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, education, marital status, language, and physical appearance. And like I said, it's not limited to those particular characteristics, but those are some of the things that I wanted to mention for this particular session. Now, the Illinois Works Career Apprenticeship Program specifically targets the following diverse groups: women, people of color, and veterans. Diversity is a very critical component, but that's incomplete if you just want to address diversity. Access is a critical first step. An effort to increase the individuals from underrepresented groups are quote unquote in the room.
I don't hear her. Is she talking?
I can hear you guys. You can't hear me?
I think we lost you for a second there, Yolanda, when you started talking about access is the critical first step.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So what I was saying about that is it's an effort to increase diversity, helps ensure that individuals from underrepresented groups are in the room. Once they're in the room, the goal is to help ensure they do not leave. Now, this requires inclusion. Inclusion is an environment in which individuals are treated fairly, respected, have equal access to resources and opportunities. Now, a focus on inclusion ensures participants can fully participate and contribute. While state and federal laws, as well as Illinois Works, require diversity, inclusion is a choice and must be proactively pursued. If they choose to quote unquote stay in the room, we must have an environment that is conducive for success. This also requires focusing on belonging. Now, belonging is when participants are able to bring their authentic selves into the pre-apprenticeship training rooms and work sites. Belonging ensures participants feel valued, allows them to develop positive connections, enhances their sense of well-being, and encourages them to maximize their fullest potential. The need to belong is fundamental to the human experience. Grantees need to take positive actions that make participants feel they belong in the room or belong in the program. When participants feel like they belong, their voices are being heard or their contributions are valued and differences are acknowledged and affirmed. They feel good about being in the program. Now, the last of these is equity. The word equity appears twice when addressing program culture. We initially addressed the importance of having an equity focus. Now, having an equity focus requires program staff to understand how race, ethnicity, and gender impact their experience with the construction and building trades. Now, having an understanding is only half the battle. We now need to put that understanding into action. Equity, along with diversity, belonging, and inclusion, creates an environment where participants feel safe, can be fully engaged, and develop professionally. It is important to note diversity alone does not guarantee equity. The goal of diversity is to ensure that underrepresented groups are in the room. Inclusion and belonging helps keep them in the room and cultivate an environment for success. Now, whereas equality advocates for everyone receiving the same thing, equity recognizes that each person has different needs, presents with different circumstances, and receives resources and opportunities based on those unique needs. In short, equity levels the playing field. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about some professional development opportunities. Now, to maximize the impact and effectiveness of diversity, inclusion, and belonging and equity, and to help ensure compliance with Illinois Works mandates, Illinois Works will provide technical assistance and training related to the following topics. Of course, diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity, understanding barriers to employment in the construction industry. More information related to these trainings can be found in the Illinois Works Partner Guide. Now, successful programs require diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity. I know I sound like a broken record, but that is the focus of this particular program, equity. And these components are a part of equity. So you probably will hear me saying them over and over again, or you're going to hear this throughout your program implementation about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Now, each of these should be infused throughout the entire pre-apprenticeship life cycle. Now, are there any questions before we proceed to the next section? You can take yourself off mute or type in the chat if you have questions. Again, I apologize about my technology issues. So, but again, before we go to the next section, do you have any questions? No questions?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Okay, so we're going to move on to section 6, which is legal implications and the pre-apprenticeship life cycle. Okay, the objectives for this section is to avoid potential legal consequences by implementing a comprehensive anti-discrimination, harassment, and bullying policy, and develop a reporting and routing process, and to identify each phase in the pre-apprenticeship life cycle. Now, a lot of these I know you're probably familiar with because you've probably been in the workforce for a while, but it's really just a refresher about these legal implications. Um, Effective program cultures are free of discrimination, harassment, bullying, or any other emotional or physical harm. Not only are these behaviors unethical, but many also have legal implications. So let's take a look at the definitions. So, we hear discrimination all the time. We hear that word, but let's define that so we can be on the same page for this particular program. Discrimination is bias or prejudice resulting in denial or opportunity, resulting in the denial of opportunity or unfair treatment when hiring, creating or applying policies, training, promoting, firing, or laying off employees, or in any other terms and conditions of employment or program participation. Now, harassment can be a wide range of unwelcome and offensive behaviors. They usually are repetitive, but they don't have to be. So, bullying is a persistent pattern of mistreatment from others in the workplace that causes either physical or emotional harm. It can include such tactics as verbal, nonverbal, psychological, physical abuse, or humiliation. Workplace harassment and discrimination is illegal, and individuals' rights are protected by local, state, and federal legislation. Uh, these are clearly contrary to Illinois Works program core values, which focus on empowering for resilience and self-sufficiency, building a community of collaboration, and maximizing differences. Okay, we're back to the Mentimeter. Hopefully, this will work for me because I think it's been working better for you all than for me. Um, you will see a graphic on the device you are using to access Mentimeter. You can use the alias or you can enter your real name. A message will come up. Get ready to play Vroom. Okay, you need to read each scenario and determine if the behavior is bullying, harassment, or discrimination. The first one, an instructor yells at a participant in front of the class, calling him lazy and telling him that he would never achieve anything. Is this bullying, harassment, or discrimination?
You know, I have a question because for me, I feel like it's two of them. So, but I put one down.
Okay. 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 I see most people have chosen bullying. That's what we have as that is bullying. Okay, we're gonna move to the next, and then I'll come back to your question. When you said it could be more than one.
Yeah, I felt like it was
Okay, the next
bullying
one.
and harassment. That's all. I just felt like it was both.
Okay, okay, I can see that. I can see that. Okay, childcare issues prevented a participant from arriving on time. The case manager tells her that he can help if she would go on a date with him. Is that bullying?
Yolanda, are you there?
I am. I'm just waiting to see. It's not coming up on my screen yet
Okay.
about the results.
Okay.
Okay. Harassment, and more specifically, sexual harassment. Okay. Um, the next scenario, an applicant is redirected from the program because it is believed that any physical limitation would be a hardship on the program and applicant. Is that bullying, harassment, or discrimination? Okay. Discrimination. Okay. Nice job. Thank you for participating in this activity. Okay, now we're going to talk about some of the legal implications. Because it is important for you to be aware of the following statutes related to harassment and discrimination. And like I said before, you're probably very familiar with these, but this is really just a refresher. Title IX of the Education Amendment Act of 1972. No person in the United States, based on sex, should be excluded from participating in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Okay, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination in employment based on race, color, sex, religion, or national origin. The Equal Pay Act of 1963. This is a United States labor law amending the Fair Labor Standards Act. This abolishes wage disparity based on sex. Now, the Illinois Human Rights Act, the state law that prohibits discrimination with respect to age, specifically 40 plus, ancestry, arrest record, citizenship status, color, conviction record, disability, gender identity, marital status, military status, orders of protection, retaliation, sex, sexual harassment. There are several things on this list. Unfavorable military discharge. All those are covered under the Illinois Human Rights Act. Now, the Americans with Disabilities Act prohibits discrimination against people who are physically or mentally challenged, who are able to perform the essential functions of the job, and requires employers to offer reasonable accommodations to enable those workers to do their jobs. Now, the U.S. Equal Opportunity Commission is responsible for enforcing the statutes in this section, and the Illinois Human Rights Commission enforces the state laws. Now, if any of these have been violated, if your program is being accused of a violation, or if a participant or program staff person suspects a violation, you want to be the first to know this, not the last. A proactive approach can help protect your organization as well as your program participants. Now, the Grantee Manual provides a few tools to assist you with dealing with these matters. Exhibit 1 is the sample discrimination, harassment, and bullying policy. This sample policy provides a clear communication regarding expectations as they relate to discrimination, harassment, and bullying. Exhibit 2 is the sample discrimination, harassment, and bullying complaint form. This document helps formalize the process for communicating violations to ensure the grantee is in the strongest positions to be proactive. Am I ahead of the slides, Gia?
Nope, you're perfect.
Okay, thank you. And Exhibit 3 is a sample policy and checklist for addressing discrimination, harassment, bullying complaints. Now, this document can assist with tracking complaints, investigating the process, finding corrective actions, post-complaint follow-ups, and ensure complete and comprehensive response to ensure the grantee is in the strongest position to take a proactive approach. Like I say, all of these are in the grantee manual as supportive tools to address these issues. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the pre-apprenticeship life cycle. You were previously introduced to that. It tracks participants' progress throughout the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program, from initial program outreach to post-transition follow-up. Each stage of the life cycle for the pre-apprenticeship demonstrates an integral step in preparing participants to enroll in registered apprenticeship programs. With support from the Illinois Works, grantees will guide their participants through a strategically planned and carefully implemented program that will specifically address the needs of the grantee's target population. Now, additional details regarding each step of the life cycle can be found in sections 4 through 8 in the grantee manual. I know there was a lot of information for those sections. Again, my apologies to the technology issues. Before we end this session, I want to ask, do you have any questions about anything that was discussed about the program culture or about legal implications? You can come off mute or you can put something in the chat. Are there no questions?
There's no questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
So we're going to move to the next. Yeah, we're going to move to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to take over and touch on partnerships and leverage resources. But again, I want to acknowledge Dr. Yolanda. That was an excellent session. Obviously, there are always technical difficulties that can't be avoided, but the content was fantastic. So thank you. So in this next section, we are covering this next module. We're covering section 3 of the Grantee Manual. So we'll be talking about assigned staff roles and responsibilities to appropriate organization team members, defining between partnerships and providers, understanding requirements of grantee recipients versus subrecipients and subgrantees and contractors and vendors, and then utilize strategies for leveraging resources and collaborations. So in this section, let us move to this is again section 3 of the manual: staff roles, partner and providers relationships, and leverage resources. So starting with staff roles, the staff are the most critical part of any successful program. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program requires several staff roles and responsibilities that need to be covered in order to ensure that participants are supported and successful as they navigate the program. So on your screen, you're going to see a list of the staff roles that Illinois Works expects all grantees to have in their program. Please keep in mind that one person can cover multiple roles, but there may be some roles that through experience the Illinois Works team has found may be more successfully completed by a single individual. So it's also important to note that obviously your titles within your organization may differ from these, but it's important to understand who is fulfilling these roles in the eyes of Illinois Works. So let's go through each of these. The program administrator is the person responsible for program compliance and ensuring that the performance metrics are met and the required reporting is done. They oversee the program operations, the staff, and they monitor the performance of the other program roles. So sections 9 through 14 of the Grantee Manual has more information on all of the requirements that are outlined there. The Outreach and Recruitment Coordinator secures a constant flow of leads for the program. They conduct pre-assessment screening. They ensure program applications are completed. They conduct, along with other team members, the standardized interviews. And there's more information specifically regarding this role in section 4. And we'll certainly cover some of that in the future Grantee Manual onboarding sessions, but it can be read in section 4 of the manual. The Wraparound Service Coordinator is responsible for non-academic supports. So we have several different service coordinators, and the Wraparound Service Coordinator are non-academic supports. And this begins with a wraparound service assessment that needs to be completed with the participant during intake. The Wraparound Service Coordinator will complete the assessment, set up necessary services, work with the other support specialists, coordinators to offer additional supports if they begin to struggle. So, for example, if they're struggling academically, they'll work with the student support coordinator. If they're having questions about transitions, they'll work with the transition service coordinator. The Wraparound Service Coordinator will also source from outside providers and other partners needed support services and be able to refer participants to those services. In the Grantee Manual, this is covered in section 6, called Participant Wraparound Services and Student Support Services. So check the Grantee Manual for more information on the requirements outlined for that position. Instructors, each organization is required to have qualified and dedicated instructors for their program. This doesn't mean that the instructors must be employees. only that the programs have a contract with another organization or an individual that will be carrying out the training portion of the pre-apprenticeship program. Instructors will be providing the classroom, hands-on worksite training, possibly some tutoring. And in addition to the instructors who are experienced and certified in construction training, grantees are required to deliver math, construction math and construction training so that they can develop the participants' practice of applied mathematical skills and mechanical aptitude testing skills. So it's important to have instructors that are certified in delivering that as well. You can refer to Section 7 of the Grantee Manual, Training, Instruction, and Certifications for more information regarding instructors. Student Support Service Coordinator, which I just briefly mentioned, is responsible for the academic needs. So it's helpful to remember student support services, student being academic. So they're responsible for the academic needs of the students, specifically the implementation of any student support services, participant progress reports, action plans. They are required to monitor attendance and academic performance, scheduling and arranging makeup sessions or post-assessment retakes, and coordinating one-on-one tutoring sessions for participants if needed. So Section 6 of the Grantee Manual, Participant Wraparound Services and Student Support Services, has more information regarding these requirements. And then the Transition Service Coordinators. Typically, this is a single individual within an organization, and they're responsible for ensuring the career assessments, which there are two main ones. One is an orientation career assessment, and another is a pre-transition career assessment. They're responsible for ensuring that those are completed and that career plans are created in coordination with the other program staff to ensure that the individual is ready to begin their career. That includes having an up-to-date resume, participating in mock interviews, getting assistance with completing the apprenticeship applications for the participants, among other things. The Transition Service Coordinator also works with employers, DOL registered apprenticeship programs. I think we had talked a little bit about this at the beginning, and one of the questions was, would we talk about these types of relationships? And it is essential that the Transition Service Coordinators develop these relationships with the registered apprenticeship programs, contractors, employers, and other partners to ensure that your program participants, your graduates, are able to transition to those next steps of their career path. The Transition Service Coordinator also conducts a post-program proactive follow-up with graduates. So every 90 days for a 12-month period following graduation, they will continue to conduct the post-program active tracking. There is more information regarding this role in Section 8 of the manual called Program Completion, Transition, and Follow-up. And finally, we have the Data Entry Coordinator. Again, this is a role that typically we would see in terms of data management, a single individual being responsible for the accuracy and completion of all data entry into IWRS. That doesn't mean they're the only ones entering data into IWRS, but if you have one person managing that quality control, it typically has been most effective. So programs can determine how they enter their data into IWRS, and again, it might be completed by the data entry coordinator or individuals with other roles. So again, I want to recap that you may have more than one individual working with in each of these roles, or you may have an individual working one of these roles that has a different title. but it's important to make sure that all of these roles are fulfilled and that all the requirements in the grantee manual are understood. It's also important to ensure that all staff and partners that are paid through Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program funds are qualified to serve in the roles that they're assigned. This includes having relevant experience and or credentials whenever applicable. One of the components of the application process is to provide resumes of individuals that you have in these roles. If you haven't done so when you coordinate with your grant manager, you'll want to forward those on. In addition to being part of the onboarding process, these documents are also required whenever your program or our program are audited by the Office of Accountability. So it's an important thing to not overlook, that you need to have the qualifications, the information that proves the staff is qualified. So we're going to try Mentimeter again, and you can let us know which of these roles you currently have staffed in your organization. I know a lot of you are still filling some of these roles and are looking to hire some of the individuals, whether you're still working on your instructors or your data entry coordinators or transition service coordinators. Let's go back to Mentimeter and let us know which of the roles are currently staffed within your organization.
Dan, we have a question in the chat.
Okay.
Tina wrote, what kind of data gets entered? I'm having a hard time conceptualizing where and when data is collected.
So obviously there's a lot that we will be covering in the next 9 onboarding sessions. So all of that will be covered, but just to give you a kind of a high level overview of what we're referring to here, during the initial enrollment process, there are interview sheets that need to be entered into IWRS, interview scores, interviewer names, all of that gets documented and tracked. Each participant will need to sign an Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program Commitment Agreement. That gets signed and dated by the participants and by your staff member. And all of that and more goes into the enrollment process. During the instruction phase, there are attendance information that needs to be entered. There's post assessments for every training module. There are post assessment requirements. Those scores get entered, and then as the participants achieve certain benchmarks, whether it's obtaining their first aid CPR certification or their OSHA 10 certification, that documentation, those scanned certificates need to be uploaded into IWRS. So, and again, this information is required to be entered in real time. So that just gives a quick overview of what we're talking about there. So thank you all for sharing some of the information. It looks like, we have most of the program administrators. That seems to be the one that hopefully all of you are well positioned to fulfill. Still working on some of the student support service coordinators and the transition services coordinators. But on average, it looks like you're well on your way, over halfway for filling all of the roles. So that's great. And again, utilizing the grantee manual for guidance there as to what you're looking for, either for staff within your organization or to be hired. So thank you. Now, using Mentimeter again, let me address this and then we'll go to the question. So using Mentimeter, what types of entities have you already partnered with? And who are some of your organization's critical partners? So as you think about that and enter that information, we can, Steve, if you can share the question, please.
So a follow-up question was, Are the instructors expected to enter this information?
So typically, instructors are not entering information into IWRS, but that would be an organizational decision. Most of the time that you have a data entry coordinator that's obtaining attendance information, post-assessment information from instructors and entering that into IWRS. All right, so back to Mentimeter. What types of entities has your organization already partnered with? We have community colleges, government entities, stakeholders, instructors, tutors, trainers. That's excellent. And, you know, I'd like to point out the difference there with instructors and tutors. Several organizations have, in the past, found a lot of success by having a separate tutor available for their participants to guide them back to some basics, whether it's through, you know, for digital literacy or literacy itself, or certainly math as a foundational subject is needed. So it looks like we have some other excellent partnerships here, elected officials, unions. Certainly the transition service coordinator is going to want to ensure that your organization has partnerships with the registered apprenticeship programs that your graduates will need to fill into. Local high schools, certainly that, you know, there are a lot of partners that can provide you with outreach and recruitment, as well. So that's fantastic. So thank you very much for sharing. Again, I can't stress it enough. Our network, we want to learn from one another. So the more you engage and share, it helps your other grantees, get a sense of other things that they can do to improve their programs. So let's focus now on some of the definitions. So partnerships are typically formally structured long-term relationships created by the entities that work together to address complex issues to achieve a shared goal. So effective partnerships often bring unique capabilities to the relationship to support program outcomes. And partnerships can include, but are not limited to, local workforce boards, local and regional apprenticeship navigators, unions, community colleges, obviously some of the ones we already saw that you already have relationships with, which is outstanding. Community groups, employers, getting to know contractors in your area and some of the major employers is going to be essential to a successful program. Employer associations, community-based organizations, and churches. A lot of programs have done phenomenal work with their recruitment through community-based organizations and churches. Secondary schools, that was one of the items that you've already indicated you have partnerships with, so that's phenomenal. The partnerships can create bridges that allow you to comprehensively respond to the needs of your program, of your pre-apprenticeship program and the participants, right? So it's the expectation, it is in the guidance that pre-apprenticeship programs are required to provide certain designated wraparound services, certain student support services, and certain transition services. And it's typically beyond the capacity of most programs to have all of those in-house all of the time. And so partnerships will be crucial for ensuring that you're able to deliver the services that are required. So partners versus providers. It's helpful to clarify DCEO and Illinois Works terms as they relate to partnerships and other relationships. And these, again, whether it's in the grant manual or your grant agreement, it's important to understand how DCEO defines these. So they, they acknowledge the following roles. We have partners and providers. Partners are typically formally structured long-term relationships. These are entities that work together with you to address those complex issues and that shared goal. You and your partners both contribute to the relationships to maximize the outcome. It's not necessary that providers contribute to solving the complex issues, or even that they have similar goals. Providers can contribute by effectively delivering even a single needed service. They can be an extension of your program service team. An effective provider contributes services that support your program's outcome, and that's their commitment. The role is to simply get their job done. So both partners and providers can be critical to your program's success. Partners may include grantees, sub-grantees, or sub-recipients. Providers would typically be considered the contractors and the vendors. And again, these are all very important definitions to understand as they relate to your grant agreement. So grantees or recipients are the non-state entity that receives the award directly from the state awarding agency to carry out the activities as outlined in the award. So this is the role that your organizations fulfill. The sub-grantees or sub-recipients are a non-state entity that receives a sub-award for the purpose of carrying out part of that state award. The sub-award creates an assistance relationship between the grantee and the sub-grantee, or the recipient and sub-recipient. And the contractor or vendor is the non-state entity that receives a contract to provide goods or services for the grantee or recipient. The contract creates a procurement relationship between the contractor and the grantee, or between the contractor and the subrecipient or recipient. I think we're going to point this out again, but before I continue, I want to stress a really important point, and that is that ultimately the state's grant agreement is with you, the grantee, not with your contractor or vendor. So their failure to perform is not something that the state will recognize. We are relying on you to ensure that they continue to perform the service that is needed. So here's what is needed in each of the role types. So for grantees or grantee recipients, they must be GATA pre-qualified, which you all were. They are officially on the record for the grant and can receive the actual funds for the grant through the agreement, the grant agreement. They do require an MOU if you're going to have sub-grantees. Our recipients must be nonprofit organizations. They must report program participation and outcomes through the periodic performance report, that's the PPR, and the periodic financial report, the PFR, and any other reporting required by DCO and the Office of Illinois Works. And they must maintain program documentation for 3 to 5 years. So most state programs require 3. The subrecipients do not need to be GATA pre-qualified, but they must not be on a suspended or excluded parties list or a sanctioned parties list. They are officially on the record for the grant and can receive actual grant funds through the grantee if it is a program allowable requirement. They require an MOU with grantees. They can be for-profit or they could be nonprofit. They must report program participation and outcomes to the grantee, and they must maintain program documentation as well. They provide the services and outcomes that are reported and managed by the grantee. The providers, so that's the contractors and vendors do not require GATA pre-approval are not officially on the record for the grant agreement, they are compensated directly by the grantee or the sub-grantee, not the state. They do not require an MOU, and again, they can be for-profit or they can be nonprofit. And they must report activities and services per the requirement of the grantee. So the NOFO requested that you list your partners in the staffing plan. It was part of that in the submission of documents. But we're interested, have you created any new partnerships for your pre-apprenticeship program since that time? Some of you may have, some of you may have not. So if we could just get a quick, the kind of survey here, and we can do this. I think we do this in the chat. This won't actually be a Mentimeter. I don't think we've switched to Mentimeter, but I think this is just a chat question. Have you created any new partnerships for this pre-apprenticeship program? So I'll give you all a moment to maybe enter something into a chat. Again, some of you may have, some of you may have not.
Dan, Patricia put a question in the chat. She asked, is there a contractual agreement for the contractors / vendors since there is no MOU?
Yes. Yeah, that's an important point to understand. And we're going to talk a little bit more about MOUs in a second, but understanding that MOUs are not, legally binding contracts. Whereas if you have a relationship with a vendor or contractor, by definition, you're going to need a contract agreement with them. So thank you for bringing that up and clarifying that. Let's see, so we have, in relation to the new partnerships that have been created, I see, some have begun working with unions and registered apprenticeship programs that maybe they didn't have before. So looks like, Rock Island has already called out 10 registered apprenticeship programs, so that's phenomenal. Tina has mentioned working to make sure that all of the services and in-kind supports are being provided. That's fantastic. So certainly there's a lot of areas where you can leverage your relationships and resources to improve the outcomes for the participants. And that's what the goal really is. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. Again, some of you may not have had an opportunity yet, or some of you might still be waiting to see, what's required through some of these onboarding sessions. So that's fantastic, though, that some of you have already gotten a head start. So I mentioned we would talk a little bit more about MOUs, so memorandums of understanding. So many of you may already have some MOUs in place with your program partners. If not, this is certainly something that you should be working towards as we go through the onboarding. A memorandum of understanding is a formal agreement between two or more entities. And as I mentioned, they are not legally binding, but they do communicate a degree of seriousness, mutual respect, and outline an understanding regarding accountabilities, which is extremely important. MOUs are required for any partnerships between recipients, the grantees, and subrecipients and subgrantees. A MOU typically includes, but is not limited to, the following sections. So you'll have a purpose and scope, a background, a project or program name, responsibilities under the MOU for each entity, agreed upon mutual understandings, reporting requirements, record retention, and an effective date. And, it's very, we mentioned that each entity should have responsibilities. It's really important that the MOU clearly indicates who is responsible for what, right? That ultimately is the purpose of the MOU. If there is any relevant information regarding finances, if there are going to be any shared costs or any subject matters like that. You want to, clearly identify, how much, could be paid, when payments would be made, and things like that as well. So looking at the next Mentimeter question, based on your experience, what additional items have you found valuable for an MOU to ensure that the partnerships are functioning well once the program is running? So again, I listed a couple. I mentioned the purpose and scope, a background, program name, responsibilities, including any financial, mutual understandings, reporting requirements, effective date and signature. Does anyone else have any other suggestions and items they found to be valuable within their MOUs? So a communication structure, that's excellent. I don't mean to speak for you, but certainly having a schedule of communication could be an effective way. Reporting structure is something that would be right in line with that. The when and how of any payments that would be made, certainly very important. Clear expectations, a reporting structure, a scope of work, excellent. Yes, I mean the whole idea behind an MOU is to eliminate any of that ambiguity. So these are, certainly valuable bits of information. Feedback loop that goes right along with communication, executive communications. Thank you. How to address any issues or concerns. That's a wonderful thing to keep in mind to ensure that everything does, the goals of the MOU are reached, right? Accountability to the program, like who is ultimately responsible for each of those things. When and how the services are delivered, a duration of the relationship. Absolutely. I mean, not only a start date, but an end date could be a component of that as well. Service locations, where things will take place, all very important. Thank you all for sharing this information. Without a doubt, there's more of you than there are us, and your effective, experience would dwarf ours by sheer numbers. So we appreciate your sharing of information and building our knowledge base. So any terms for ending the relationship and primary contacts. Wonderful. So thank you all very much for sharing that information. And again, as we go through, really your participation here is part of the learning experience for all of us. So with regard to MOUs, we actually are able to share an example or a couple examples. We're going to set up a WebEx file transfer. So if you'd like a copy in a moment, if the technology works for us, I think it's going to, you're going to be able to select the PDF examples and download them. So you should see a file transfer window popped up on your screen, and you can click on a file and select download, and then you'll identify where on your computer you would like to save the document, and then you'll be able to save them. We'll just give you a couple of moments to complete that, and then we'll move on.
Dan, let me know when you would like me to close the transfer box.
All right, how about we give it about another 10 seconds or so?
All right, will do.
Thank you. All right. Hopefully you all had an opportunity to grab that. If you didn't, you can certainly reach out to your grant manager, and we'll be able to get that for you directly. So returning to the conversation, it's important to keep in mind that the grant recipient is the one who will ultimately be held accountable by Illinois Works and DCEO. And that's why I stressed that a few minutes ago. If a subrecipient or subgrantee or a provider or contractor is not performing as agreed, they can be removed and replaced. However, the grantee themselves are still accountable by DCEO. And any failure can lead to being placed on the Illinois Stop Payment List. As some of you may know, that being placed on the Illinois Stop Payment List due to one grant affects any grant or payment you have with the state of Illinois. So, and then you cannot be considered for future funding opportunities while you're on that list. So if any of you, for example, were unfortunately on that list right now, it would be impossible to execute the grant agreement. So it's important to stay on top of your reporting requirements, which is typically how one winds up on the stop payment list by failure to provide timely reports. But to learn more about the stop payment list, there's an information session that was held during the 2023 NOFO this summer. And so you can go back to that NOFO website and listen to the GATA pre-qualifications webinar. So clearly partnerships and other relationships can support your ability to respond to each of the program elements and support your ability to achieve the program outcomes that your organization is looking to achieve. However, it's important to acknowledge that identifying and cultivating these successful partnerships does require hard work by all the parties. So keep that in mind and leverage your relationships with other grantees and, of course, the Office of Illinois Works to put yourself on path to establishing those relationships. So now let's talk about, again, tracking partner engagement in IWRS. So we mentioned before that IWRS is designed to manage participant progress, but also partner engagement. There's a partner engagement and management tab where grantees at the organizational level can track partner relationships and engagement based on the type of partner, whether it be a business association, a community college, social service agency, employers, among others. And then also tracking the services that that partner provides, whether it's job site training, supportive services, daycare, other instruction, things like that. This type of tracking is critical for programs to develop a robust and ever-growing network of partners. And as stated throughout this manual and this WebEx, engaging with partners can provide significant benefits to the grantees, but ultimately the participants for whom we're looking to serve. So the Illinois Works team will look at partner recruitment and engagement as one of the key metrics that denote your success. So using Mentimeter, what might be some potential barriers to developing successful partnerships? So again, our grantee network is made up of a lot of different organizations. Some of you have been in business for decades. Some of you are fairly new. So this is an opportunity to maybe learn from others that have experienced difficulties and overcome them. So what are some of the barriers? What are some of the pitfalls maybe to avoid the best practices of successful partnerships? So if you could share that with us in Mentimeter, we definitely would appreciate it. So right away, Sue came rushing out of the gate there with some of the barriers being politics and staffing restrictions. So that's something to keep in mind. Compensation disagreements. Again, these are, items that we had talked about. Maybe a successful MOU includes to help avoid things like this. So thank you for highlighting that. Organizational competition, no accountability. Again, relating back to some of the best practices on the MOU that we discussed, right? Having who is responsible for each progress point. Inexperience, not being open to collaboration, not maybe knowing your own program. I don't know, possibly that means, trying to do more than what you're capable of. Not understanding the business, not being open to collaboration, no accountability. Thank you for sharing all these. Again, your experience out there is invaluable to improving our network. So these are all things to keep in mind as you move forward. And again, we're not looking for you to do everything, to be everything to everybody. And developing those partnerships will allow you to focus on the the things that you are accountable for and able to complete. So thank you. Some of the barriers that we have identified: a lack of mutual respect, lack of trust or trustworthiness. That goes back to that communication, right? The reporting, where you are in terms of your outcomes. Focus on money and not outcomes. Again, identifying any payment structures up front eliminates some of that. So you can see how they all kind of balance each other and go hand in hand. Deceptive practices regarding joint goals, poor listening skills, unwillingness to acknowledge or confront issues or challenges. I think that goes back to having identified the people that are accountable for meeting those goals. Lack of subject matter expertise in areas that are supposed to be capabilities. So a couple of the comments that you all shared fit right into that. Competition instead of cooperation, and hoarding of information, and developing silos. These are all things that would restrict any internal organization, much less external partners. So thank you for sharing those. We're going to jump back into Mentimeter again. Again, hopefully this keeps you all very engaged and aware. What are some strategies you can employ to overcome some of these barriers? So again, we're looking to see maybe in your experience, some of the things you shared with us, how did you resolve it? And maybe you didn't resolve it with that partner, but in future partnerships, you were able to head it off before it became an issue. So share with us some of your successful tips and strategies for overcoming barriers. There we go. I saw we had 3 responses. They were just very small. I couldn't read them. But here we go. So troubleshooting problems. So that to me means an active engagement and acknowledgement of the status of things. Education, building a pipeline, communication, regular meetings, consistency. I mean, those all are building on the same theme there, aren't they? Respect. I think, whoa, here we go. You guys have so much to share. It's wonderful. Thank you. Setting a clear set of expectations, a strong follow-up, a good coach, understanding their program, communication with staff, getting advice to others, talking to me. There's a huge communication theme here. that really helps. I see written agreement. Again, we really rely on organizations to create MOUs and really communicate with one another. So you guys have so much to offer here. It's fantastic. Clear contract language. Certainly, we don't want to lose sight of the goal, right? Which is understanding what needs to be delivered and how it gets delivered. So this is wonderful. Thank you. I think you've all hit on some of the things we were going to share. I won't go through each one of these since you have so many of them listed through Mentimeter, but you know, some of the techniques that we've identified are, you know, creating that detailed MOU, you know, freely sharing relevant information. Again, these are all things that I think you guys had touched on. Agreeing on how the work will be done, setting those expectations, being willing to submit progress reports and have regular progress report meetings. It all feeds into that communication for an effective partnership. So thank you. So speaking of effective partnerships, the specific actions and steps that you can take to overcome, you know, these are some of the best practices that, you know, we have for keeping your partnerships on track. First and foremost, provide accurate and up-to-date information on reports. So whether that's the IWRS reports, GATA requirements reports, Office of Grant Management reports, and other DCO reports, that's crucial. Deliver those reports on time, deliver the services on time, communicate any concerns and issues immediately. Steve had just shared with us that what is the saying? Bad news does not get better with age. I think I've mangled that a little bit, but you certainly That's want right. to. Thank you, Steve. You know, bring any issues to light immediately so they can be worked on collaboratively, right? Utilize Illinois Works available tools. And if you're unsure, ask Illinois Works. You know, you'll find that, you know, although, and I just shared this with a grantee that I was meeting with, you know, although the grant managers are responsible for compliance and ensuring that the grantees adhere to the program requirements, and oftentimes we are also the ones that are, you know, required to deliver the verdicts on decisions. We're also your advocates, right? So coming to us for support and finding out your options. You'll talk to some of the experienced grantees, and hopefully they'll tell you that you know, it's always better to ask. You know, don't assume you know the answer. If you're unable to find the answer to a question in the grantee manual, or there appears to be some gray area, go ahead and ask your grant manager, and we'll get those answers for you, and you know, we'll be an effective partner. So again, just a recap here, understanding that Illinois Works needs your reporting to be accurate and on time. And so that's part of the partnerships, that if you have other organizations, whether, you know, I think Tina had asked a question about instructors, right? And whether they enter that reporting. Well, if they don't, and most do not, your data entry coordinator needs that information so that they can enter the reports, right? So as a partner, your instructors need to provide you with that reporting timely so that you can provide it to the Office of Illinois Works. Any questions before we move on? All right. We will just very quickly make you aware of the onboarding schedule. As I mentioned, I think there are 9 more new grantee onboarding sessions in our partner guide. So if you have not already registered for them, please do. These are the immediate onboarding professional developments. We will have professional development throughout the year. We talked about the applicant tracking system. That will certainly be one that will be added to this as soon as it's available. So please keep up to date on those and ensure that you have registered. So any questions before I hand this over to Gia to discuss the next component of every onboarding? Any questions in the chat?
There are no questions in
Okay.
the chat.
Excellent. I'm going to hand this over to Gia. Please provide your feedback. It is very important to everything we do. So I appreciate everyone's time today. I know we're at 12:32 here, but sorry if I'm a little long-winded. But please stay and share your thoughts via Mentimeter with Gia. And Gia, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. And I just want to acknowledge all of the support we had for the program today. So thank you to the professional development team. We had Dr. Anna Bedard and Dr. Beverly Robinson. Thank you to the grant managers who provided support, Ms. Monica Pruitt, Mr. Stephen, and I also want to acknowledge our esteemed presenters. This takes a lot of time and effort to prepare for, as you can imagine. So thank you to Mr. Dan Martinez and Dr. Yolanda Clark. We are so grateful to all of you. And of course, to everyone that attended. We are aware that this is a lot of information. We are committed to being here for you and supporting you during this process. If you could, please log back into Mentimeter. If you've logged out, we just have a couple of questions. Your feedback will help us improve for the next session. So please take a moment to respond to these questions. We want to hear from you. The first one is really just giving us feedback, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. To what extent did it meet your expectations? How likely are you to attend an event in the future? And how likely are you to recommend others attend the onboarding trainings? So if you could, Verily put the Mentimeter code and voting link back into the chat for you. So please do take a second to log in and just answer these questions for us. The second question is, this course was relevant to what I wanted to learn about the subject matter. You can go ahead and 1 being strongly disagree, 5 being strongly agree. Thank you to those who are commenting in the chat. Thank you. We appreciate you as well. We have the next question here. Was this course relevant to what I wanted to learn? Great. Thank you to those who are responding. We appreciate this feedback. Other responses? Okay. I plan to apply what I learned. I plan to apply what I learned. Only a couple more questions left, so thank you all for hanging with us to complete the end of program evaluation. Any other respondents for this question? This is really helpful. Thank you. What improvements might you recommend? What can we do better next time? What can we do better next time? Especially given our next session it's actually Tuesday, so we'll get a chance to hang out again on Tuesday. What can we do to improve this experience on Tuesday? Absolutely. Yeah, the audio was pretty interesting. And we did a morning check too, so just unexpected that it suddenly started to be problematic, but we are going to look into that. Thank you. All right, thank you. Audio, absolutely, thank you. A little practice with Mentimeter first. We can do that. Any other feedback? Okay. What did you find effective? So if we start to make changes for Tuesday, what is it that we should keep? What components of the program do you not want us to change or do different? Okay, we can do that. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Absolutely. Thank you. I know it's a ton. Thank you all for hanging in there with us for this. Slides in advance. Okay, we don't typically send them in advance, but we do make the slides available when we post the program. But we may be able to share information in advance. Great, thank you for that feedback. Any other feedback for us? I think there's one more question after this one. Last question. Anything else we did not ask about that you think we should know? Anything else we did not ask about, but you think it would be helpful information for us to know? Okay, I will leave Mentimeter open for a little bit longer if you want to enter some feedback. Thank you all so much again for your participation, and we will see you all on Tuesday. Thank you.